Hello everyone. Today we are going to start series of lectures on constitutional law. आज हम इस लेक्चर में बात करेंगे what is constitution, its meaning, kinds, functions and what are the qualities of a constitution contains. Firstly we will deal with the meaning of constitution. Term constitution जो है वो ड्राइव किया गया Latin word constituere से which means to establish or set up. दैट मीन्स स्थापित करना कुछ। अगर हम जनरल सेंस में देखें तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन डिस्क्राइब करता है बेसिक प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ द स्टेट, जो नेचर ऑफ पॉलिटी होता है। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट स्ट्रक्चर्स एंड प्रोसेसेस ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट। बेसिकली गवर्नमेंट के 3 ऑर्गन्स होते हैं सच एज लेजिस्लेचर, जुडिशरी, एग्जेक्टिव। कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इसकी इन तीनों ऑर्गन्स की फॉर्मेशन, फंक्शनिंग एंड प्रोसेसिंग कि ये कैसे काम करेंगे उस पे काम करता है। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट इट डिस्क्राइब्स what are the fundamental rights of citizens and what are their duties, what is the relationship between state and citizens and its government, and then it also looks into what is the relationship between the 3 organs and how they are working with each other. We can say constitutional law is a higher law that cannot be unilaterally changed by an ordinary legislative act. So there are a number of names जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को दिए गए हैं, जैसे कि सुप्रीम लॉ ऑफ द स्टेट, बेसिक लॉ ऑफ द कंट्री, ग्रैंड नॉर्म. So there are various definitions given by political and legal thinkers for constitution. Gilchrist defines constitution as a body of rules or laws, written or unwritten, which determines the organization of government, distribution of powers to various organs of the government, and general principles on which those powers are exercised. So basically, this definition says कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एक बॉडी है रूल्स की, लॉज की, जो रिटन भी हो सकते हैं और अनरिटन भी हो सकते हैं, जो डिटर्मिन करते हैं, फिक्स करते हैं कि गवर्नमेंट की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कैसे होगी, जो वेरियस ऑर्गन्स है जैसे कि लेजिस्लेचर, जुडिशियल और एग्जेक्टिव, इनका जो फंक्शनिंग पावर्स कौन कौन सी होंगी, वो पावर्स कैसे एक्सरसाइज की जाएंगी एंड वो कौन सी प्रिंसिपल्स होंगी जिनके बेस पे वो पावर्स एक्सरसाइज की जाएंगी. Then K.C. Vihar defines constitution as the whole body, whole system of government of a country, the collection of rules which establish and regulate or govern the government. This definition is just talking about a whole system of government of a country that goes beyond 3 organs, and it is talking about collection of rules. Wade and Phillips defines constitution as a document having a special legal sanctity which sets out the framework and the principal functions of the organs of the government of a state and declares the principles governing the operation of those organs. So basically, this is the definition that is talking about legal sanctity, that how legally a constitution will be framed and how the principal functions of the organs of a state will be working, and declares के जो principles governing the operation of those organs. So basically, there is similarity as well between these definitions, and apart from that it is showing that kinds of constitutions. What are the functions of the constitution? Constitution क्या क्या काम करता है? Bulmer has divided constitutional functions into 8 categories. First one, constitution can declare and define the boundaries of political community. Political community होती है the people residing in that state, or we can say citizens of that country. So boundaries can be of 2 types, territorial and personal. Territorial boundary may include होता है geographical borders of a state and extraterritorial claims and extraterritorial rights, if there are any. And personal boundary includes definition of citizenship. Who are citizens of that state? For example, Part Second of the Constitution, from Article 5 to 11, deals with citizenship. This distinguishes between who are within the polity and who are outside the polity, means who are aliens in that country and who are citizens. Second function of the Constitution is to declare and define the nature and authority of the political community. So it declares declares the state's fundamental assumptions and principles and where sovereignty lies. For example, we can say in the preamble of the Constitution, it contains India as a secular, democratic, social republic, etc. This is defining the nature of the state. And where authority lies, in the preamble itself, it is containing the phrase, we the people of India, that is showing that, okay, sovereignty lies in the people of India, not in any other uh, institution. Third function of the Constitution is to express the identity and values of a national community. So values and national community includes like what will be the national flag of that country, what will be the national anthem of that country, and how that country emerged from historical struggles, what is the history, and what is the identity of nation. These things are included in the identity of the country. Fourth function of the Constitution is to declare and define the rights and duties of citizens. So Constitution contains a list or chapter on fundamental rights. If we will talk about Indian Constitution, Part 3 deals with fundamental rights, which are legally enforceable. These rights include civil and political rights, such as freedom of expression, freedom of thought, freedom to worship a religion, etc. And and when we are talking about duties of citizenship, Part 4A in Article 51A dealing with duties of citizenship, which are legally binding, and moreover, there will be certain other rights which are beyond civil and political rights, which are included in the form of socioeconomic rights, such as Part 4, directive principles of the state. Next function of the Constitution is to establish and regulate political institutions of the community. Constitution defines various organs of the government, such as judiciary, executive, and legislature. It provides what will be the composition of these very institutions, what will be the powers and the functions of these uh, institutions, and what is the interrelationship between these three organs of the government. Apart from that, it may signify symbolic head of the state, that is president. Then it can also contain certain institutions which are necessary for ensuring integrity of the political process, such as election commission. Then there will be institutions to ensure transparency and accountability of those who in power. Such institutions include ombudsman, human rights commissions. These are essential for the well functioning of our democratic society. Next function of the Constitution is to declare the official religious identity of state and demarcate relationship between sacred and secular authorities. Constitution deals with such sort of issues to maintain a balance between its citizens. For example, we can say what is the relationship between state and religion. If it's a sacred, then or secular. In case of secular constitution, state doesn't have any relation, and it provides that all religions are equal in the eyes of law, and People have right to worship a religion according to their own will, but there will be constitutions which are religiously premised. We can take the example of Pakistan, that is an Islamic state, and there are other number of other Islamic states in the world which are based on religious identity. And then in that case, religion dominates the laws and rules of that very society. Another function of the constitution is to commit states to particular social, economic, and development goals. In the previous function, we discussed about civil rights, civil and political rights in the form of fundamental rights, but there can be other rights which are mandatory for the government whenever they are enacting policies, enacting laws, making policies. These include directive principles of state policy, though these are not judicially enforceable, but somewhere we can see these are essential to incorporate whenever a state is enacting laws for social, economic, and cultural well-being of the people. The last function of the constitution, as per according to Bulmer, is it can divide and share power between different layers of government or sub state communities. So, for this purpose, we can say constitution may be a unitary, it may be a federal, it may be quasi-federal. In case of unitary constitution, powers are with the central government, and it controls accordingly. But in case of federal, powers are divided between state and its provinces, means center and states. And like in case of India, certain powers are given to states and certain powers are with the central government, which are contained in the three lists in the form of union list, state list, and then residuary powers are there, which are vested with both of the governments. But apart from that, there will be sub-state communities. Certain constitutions define cultural and linguistic communities which are established autonomously. Means state is giving autonomy to these very cultural or religious or we can say linguistic communities so that they can decide uh, their policies which are basically internal. We can take example of Belgium constitution, which establishes autonomous linguistic communities in addition to geographic regions. So these functions of the constitutions are very necessary when we are understanding the concept of constitution and how our constitution functions, so that we can understand or comprehend how a state works according to the nature of the constitution. Now we will discuss the qualities of a constitution. For the well functioning of a constitution, the following qualities should be there. Brevity. The constitution should be brief. It should not be too lengthy to avoid the confusion or we can say uh, misunderstanding in its interpretation. Second is clarity. The constitution should clear enough provisions to avoid the complications, and the language should be simple to understand it easily. Then comprehensiveness. Constitution should be comprehensive in laying down the powers of the government as well as the rights and duties of the citizens. It would reduce the scope for controversies and litigations. Then stability. The constitution should provide political stability. It should not provide enough powers to the government to amend the constitution according to its will and make it uh, complicated. So it would strengthen the obedience of the citizens to the constitution. Suitability. The constitution should be suitable to the uh, geographical, historical, and socioeconomic and cultural situations of the country. Then constitution should be adaptable, means adaptability should be there. It should be dynamic and not static. It should be able to adapt itself to changing situations and requirements, and it should be a living document. Now we will discuss the classification of constitution. Constitution can be categorized into various categories on the following basis. Evolved constitution. Evolved constitution is actually an outcome of gradual and slow process. It is in the form of conventions, practices, principles, and judicial decisions. It is also known as a cumulative constitution. And if we look into example, the British Constitution is the good example of evolved constitution. The next one is enacted constitution. Enacted constitution is deliberately made by the Constituent Assembly in the form of book or in form of series of books or documents. It is also known as conventional constitution. We can take examples of South Africa, India, or America, United States of America. These are enacted constitutions. Then constitution can be federal or unitary constitution. This classification is based on the of relationship between national government and the regional governments. Federal constitution is actually provides division of powers between the state and national government. In case of India, there are three lists which contain various subjects on which central government can enact the laws in the union laws. Then state list is there, and then uh, residuary powers are there where both of the government can enact the laws. Then unitary constitution is there. In the unitary constitution, powers we can say are concentrated in the hands of national government. It makes regional governments to operate as coordinate agencies of the national government and exercise only such powers which may be delegated to them by the national government. So in case of federal constitution, we can take examples of US, Switzerland, Australia, and if we look into the unitary constitution, we can take examples of UK, France, Japan. But if we are talking about India, the India contains both of the natures. It is federal as well as unitary, or we can say it's a quasi-federal. So next is written constitution. Written constitution is in a form of a book, and its provisions are incorporated. We can take example of India, USA, Canada. Unwritten constitutions are not written in a form of book, but in the form of conventions, judicial decisions, etc. We can take example of UK, Israel. And then constitution can be rigid and flexible constitution. Actually, it is based on the amendment of the constitution. Rigid constitution doesn't allow easy amendment of the constitution. We can take example of United States of America, and then we can take example of flexible constitution is comparatively easy to be amended. We can take example of Indian constitution, that is a flexible constitution. Constitution on the basis of archetype. Elliot Bulmer has classified constitution into two on the basis of archetype. Archetype means it corresponds to rule of law, a procedural constitution and a prescriptive constitution. A procedural constitution is a constitution which defines the legal and political structure of the public institutions and also sets out the legal limits of the government. That okay, this is the limit of the government and government cannot go beyond that in order to protect democratic processes and fundamental human rights. A procedural constitution is actually, we can say, appropriate for the societies where diversity is prevalent, like in case of India and in Canada. There is no specific society, and there is no ultimate goal and shared values that just determine this is the shared goal of the society, of the state, that needs to be achieved, because it gives space or accommodate uh, those who in power and those who are not, means it includes minorities, majority. So procedural constitution is appropriate for India and Indian constitution, we can say a procedural one, and Canadian constitution. Then prescriptive constitution actually emphasizes where the foundational function of the constitution as a basic charter of the state's identity, and it plays very key role in deciding what is the ultimate goal of that very state and what will be the shared values that underpin the state. Or we can say where it is decided this is the shared value that needs to be achieved by that very particular state or the community, uh, and the government will work for achievement of that very shared value and goals, and it won't go beyond that. We can take the example of Ecuador and South Africa. Thank you for watching the video, and in the next lecture we will discuss constitutionalism and constitutional government and the difference between these two terms. Please do share, subscribe, and if there is any question, please do comment in the comment section. Thank you for watching.